All right, so you're rolling. Take some water because I'll forget to drink the whole time. Welcome everybody in. It's another episode of the Nice Job podcast. How you doing out there? Feeling good? Feeling great? That's what I like to hear. And if you're having a bad day, well, guess what? This is the podcast that's going to turn it around for you. So get ready to get some amazing information and a little bit of an energy boost as well. I'm excited to have our guest on today. It's actually from one of our partners at NiceJob. So, there's an integration between our two softwares, a great relationship between the two teams. It's always a lot of fun. We get a chance to work with this crew. So my guest today is Scott Burton, Chief Marketing Officer at Mark8. Scott, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us here on the NiceJob podcast.
Good. How are you, Sean? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
The same right here as well. And I mentioned, Mark8 and NiceJob, partners, we integrate, we align. Quick high level, because it's not a sales pitch type podcast, but for those that may not have heard, you want to let the audience know what Mark8's all about and what they could do for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, again, thanks for having us and for having me on here. I'm excited. Mark8, what we really focus on and specialize in is a CRM kind of high level, but really it's scheduling, right? It's recording expenses. It's a field service management tool or platform, if you will, houses all your customer information. You're able to send estimates, convert it to work orders, put it on the calendar, assign it out to a tech, ultimately send over that invoice and collect payment. But in addition to that, it does some marketing features to help with lead generation, staying top of mind with notifications, email blasts, SMS, texting, expenses in recording. And then obviously we partner with you guys to help with the reputation and getting the review side of it. So really kind of that holistic, manage your business, the brains, if you will, behind the actual business or service business.
And what I love is it's definitely expansive profile or expansive software, but you have the ability, like you said, to integrate something like a NiceJob. I know there's a couple other things that you kind of can enhance and go up, but if you're looking for something, to get you going, get you started and to build off of that. So it's not something that's just a starter software. It's something that you're going to be able to use as you grow, add in more things. So I absolutely love about that. And we're proud to, kind of be a partner with there. And then you said from the reputation marketing side, you guys have the email blast and the other stuff. You're able to take reviews that you're collecting through NiceJob, take that copy, put it in there and really, build that reputation marketing cycle as well. So we're glad to be a part. And I love when you talk about kind of the full service part of it, so the scheduling, the invoices, the payments, that's a lot of good foundational things. When it comes to marketing, getting out, and the topic that I'd love to dive into today is, how to find, more leads, more sales, gather more customers. And one topic that I never really thought was such a hot button issue, but when I started working at NiceJob and started talking to more home service professionals, things like that, I found there's a lot more definitive positions on it than I may have expected, which is the idea of like deals and sales and offers. The one school of thought is, never discount your services because then you start, not valuing yourself. The other side says, well, look, there's opportunities. You don't want to do it all the time. You don't want to be for example, like the Bed Bath & Beyond coupon where it's 20% no matter what, even if you don't have it half the time. Yeah. I would love to get kind of just the high level, your sort of impression of maybe where you kind of stand on that, but ultimately, since we want to kind of dive a bit deeper into the sales side of it, perhaps what might be the right opportunity where you might start to consider, okay, perhaps I can put an offer, a package or something together to present to the audience out there.
Yeah, it's a great question, right? And I think most importantly, one, as a business owner, if you're a startup or if you've been in business for a while, one, it's important to just manage your data and manage your customers. You can really get really good information, whether it's your conversion rate or, just how you're doing, the health of your business. So I think that's step number one. And then if you really dive down into that numbers, you can't measure, what you don't know, right? So being able to measure it is one, but your prices, right? Am I priced too high? Am I priced too low? If I did this, how would that impact my business? So one, I do think it depends on business to business and what line of service you offer, because, and even your clientele. So for example, if you were to discount something, are you going to lose money? Like, and if you don't know your numbers or your expenses and how that was correlated without having a CRM in general, then it's really hard to make that decision or that choice. So I think from that perspective, it's super important just to be able to play with it and say, hey, if I do 10%, 15%, do I have enough room? Or what is my clientele? Like, where are most of my revenue dollars coming from? So being able to look at your customers, but then also segment them either by service or line item that you offer, you're able to really get a deep dive into your customers, where your money's coming from. And then you can actually see, should I discount that? Should I run a program against that? How do I replicate that or duplicate that into other customers, right? And do I need the discount to get in there? So first, the data is so important. If you have that data, then like you said, you can really make educated risks or decisions based on that data. So I think that's so important. And then you can see, like, hey, if I run a promotion or a deal or a discount, run it for 2 months, 3 months, what did that do to my business? Now you can measure against it, right? So now you have a firm understanding. Did it impact my business? And if so, was it positive or negative? So I don't have a problem with doing it, but I think if you're strategic and methodic in the way that you do it, I think that's going to set you up for much higher success and much higher conversion rates. And ultimately, you're probably going to get much higher reviews, right? Because it's targeted, it's methodical. People aren't going to think, oh, he just lowered my price to get me. There's a perception in the brand that you're trying to create, and ultimately build on. So I think that's extreme. All those things are so important, I think.
Yeah, that's a key factor you talked about, of gaining kind of audience insights, right? If figuring out exactly, what type of clientele might only take advantage of a sale, or what type of clientele might become perhaps a little bit more engaged, or, instead of being dormant for longer periods, more likely to rebook services because they know you do quality work. But if you put out a discount, a sale, or, some sort of package that entices them to be a little bit more active, you then can find out, as you're attracting new customers, perhaps what the long-term value will end up being. So perhaps someone that's only going to enter the door through a sale is not going to give you good long-term value. But if you find a balance throughout the year where you're able to bring in those type of customers that might only be a deal searcher without kind of affecting your brand reputation, you know what's going to get reputation as a reputation marketing company without kind of ruining that. So with that being said, so, okay, there's a time where perhaps you can do a sale. If you really are looking at it correctly, you're going to do it where you're minimizing the risk as much as you can. You're not giving stuff out undervalued, but you're also not becoming someone where they're just going to wait for you to do sales. You're not doing it at such a frequency that people don't ever look, the Bed Bath & Beyond thing. Is there kind of a starter sale? It sounds like such a weird mentality, but is there any recommendation you might make of, okay, if you don't know how, let's say, to discount your services, especially in home service professionals, sometimes it gets a little bit hard because they think of it as like, well, I'm just pressure washing. They don't really think of the nuances of it. Is there a way to perhaps structure a discount, structure a sale, or at least a mindset to get into thinking of, okay, what might make an enticing sort of package that isn't just seem like myself as the business owner, just a huge discount?
Everyone likes a deal, right? I think it's just that sense of feeling of, I got a good deal, right? So as long as the mutual exchange is there and it's a benefit to both parties, meaning the business owner and the customer, I think that's fair. So I think when you look at, if you're just going to throw out a discount just to throw it out there, I would always just caution and say, get something in return, right? That discount holds value to you, right? Whether it's your reputation, your service. I mean, you're probably still going to do the same amount of work, put in the same amount of effort, but you're charging them less. So if the quality of work is high, get something. Ask them to write a review about your service. Tell them to, get a referral. So I think there's value in a discount, but it's all about what you're asking in return for that, in exchange of that. What are they going to do, right? And I think a lot of times people are afraid to ask that. And data states that people are very open to either leaving a review or telling a friend about their service. They really want to help you, especially if they feel like they're getting something in return, which could be said discount. So, if you're just starting out I think if I was really trying to build my reputation, my brand, I would say, hey, yeah, you know what, Mr. Customer, it sounds like price is super sensitive to you. How about this? If we agree to a 10% discount, would you tell 10 of your friends about your experience with me today, or write one review on my website today? Does that sound fair, right? And get that upfront agreement. You know, obviously, if you're well established in your years down the road, maybe it's something else. You know, how about this? How about, you know, I give you a discount, but I'm actually trying to get into hardwood versus just carpet cleaning. So you're offering a side or an ancillary product or service that you don't normally do, or you're trying to get established in, and maybe try it out for the first time on that and kind of segue into that, right? I'll give you a discount on a bundled package or an additional service, or something like, or even a future service, right? Because most importantly, if you're going to offer any kind of discount or pricing break, you at least want to get some loyalty out of them, some future commitment from them, whether it's the review, whether it's selling people, or hey, 6 months from now, I know you're going to need the service again. How about here's a coupon for the next time, right? So really be, again, strategic about how you're positioning it. And don't be afraid to ask for something in return.
Yeah, and I know with reviews, you have to be a little careful to make sure it's not, pay to play, because I know,
Right.
some Google terms service, things like that. But
Yep.
you touched on something which it reminded me of a story I heard where they were trying to put, it was the exact situation you talked about, that, hey, we're going to start doing some hardwood cleaning as well. We're doing mostly carpets, we're going to try about hardwood. And you talked about having that audience data, their customer data. They had a list of, these are clients that use us for carpet cleaning that we know in their home have part hardwood. And what they did was they rolled it out, trialing it almost as a pilot program of, hey, you already use us. We come up for the carpets. We love to do your hardwood as well. We gave them a slight little discount, but what they did was they kind of said, if you like this, when we start talking about that, we'd love to book you for both. We'll keep you at a good price. So they almost built in this, hey, this new service is coming out, saw how popular it may or may not be. So they were able to, categorize the risk or the investment there. But then additionally, you talk about the reputation thing, was that then opened up the door that they were using NiceJob in this sense, like sent it back out and said, hey, we'd love for you to review us again on a different platform. So you left out on Google, why don't you leave one on Facebook about our hardwood? And now they just doubled their reviews with customers they already had talking about new services. And that was incredibly beneficial for them. But what I loved about it is that it also helped them start to build packages, which is a good kind of sales strategy that isn't necessarily, sometimes it seems to the customer like it's deals or it's discounts, but sometimes properly packaging and then offering options in between can be a good strategy. And I know, with Mark 8 and the software, you guys talk about being able to have those deals, campaigns, or even sort of those packages with the custom estimates. What are the advantages of perhaps looking at your business and finding a way to segment packages as opposed to just having kind of this flat rate or even, a per basis pick and choose sort of element? How can the package system really help you motivate your sales?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And I think as a business owner, you usually find one revenue stream up front, and you kind of focus on that and build it. But as you kind of establish yourself, you really start to think, how can I add additional revenue streams? Where else can I play in, right? This is going well, it's time to expand. I'm already there. What else can I do while I'm there? So I mean, your cost of sale goes down, right, when you add on. So providing packages and options, typically mentally, most people go with usually the middle option. They don't want to go with the highest, they want to go with the lowest, right? But they also don't know sometimes everything that you offer. So if you're not offering really the complete package or everything that you do, you could be leaving some revenue on the table. You're missing out on a huge opportunity that you didn't know that was there because the customer didn't know it. So I think anytime you can present options and give the person a choice, I think that'll increase your average deal size or your average ticket price, however you want to measure or track that. Not too many options, because there's stats out there that'll say it's too overwhelming, they get confused, and then they get flustered. But as long as you keep it simple, straightforward, and they have 3, 4, 5 different options, I think that's okay to do. And I think you're going to find that your average ticket price is going to go up. And then additional revenue streams are going to come. Like I was saying, carpet cleaner, you're expanding into hardwood. Now that whole clientele that side of business or customers that you weren't necessarily trying to get in front of. Now word starts spreading, customers talk to, their neighbors and what have you. Now you're getting calls from a whole different group, right? And now you can go after them who might happen to have carpet cleaners and while you're there, right? So it's that exchange of service. And I think options are extremely powerful. And I think you can go a long ways in adding additional revenue streams to your business.
And perhaps another benefit of that is it gives you an idea of perhaps how you can also start laying out your schedule for your team, because perhaps some of those, packages that, come off a little bit of a lower ticket, but maybe not doing as much. So we like to say, your lowest package should be 5-star service. And then you go 8 stars and you go 10 stars, right? But that also might mean to do 10 stars where you're doing all those extra little things that are included in that package might make it a 40-minute job as opposed to a 20-minute job. Well, as you start to grow your team, and I know all about this, like keeping the schedule in order and having easy tools to kind of make it work. But perhaps you'll figure out, okay, if I'm sending crews to do just this package, I might be able to book them for X amount a day because I know it's taking that amount of time, and then have a different team that's working on those type of packages. And then depending on skill set, perhaps, switching those teams up slightly, which then I feel like kind of builds in your culture of, you're going to get some new opportunities, you're going to do some new things, you're going to kind of get down there, but kind of provide this opportunity for people to turn into all-stars. So it wouldn't surprise me if packages also help on the other end of your business as well, or is that me kind of getting a little too dream scenario? What's your thoughts on that, Scott?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. When you fine tune your business and, obviously, especially if you got multiple techs, multiple trucks, multiple vans, it's really becoming efficient, right? Really nailing down, all right, I'm going to be here. How long am I going to be there? And eliminate, or at least try to mitigate some of that time lost in between jobs and so forth. I think you're right on that. And being able to track that, right? So having some sort of CRM like Mark8 that your employees and techs can clock in and clock out, and you can actually get super efficient with your time. How long were they there? How long did it take to drive there? I mean, all that data, I think, again, is super important for a business owner to make educated, really good decisions on, like you were saying, future scheduling, how you package things, who you deploy. This group or this team or this person is super efficient at this service, so I'm going to choose him, right? Or if it's geographical based, skill set based, either one. If you don't have the data, you can't make that decision anyway. So step one is, again, getting that data and looking at it and then making that choice. And I think you'll get extremely efficient. And again, save everyone time, right? Not just yourself, but obviously your tech's time too. And we all know time is so important these days.
It's so funny how it always ends up coming back to having that data, being able to get it easily, being able to kind of analyze it. It's like no matter what avenue of business I'm talking about, it comes down to that, and be able to have it, in one place, or, places or in softwares that are talking to one another so that they're communicating, makes it that much better. And I love what you talked about, having the ability of your techs like clocking in, clocking out, is that might be something you're not thinking about when it comes to the actual value of a job. Is if you had a crew doing, lower ticket, shorter jobs, but they're moving quite quickly, is that as beneficial of maybe having to have a little bit more prep time prior and going out for a larger ticket? It wouldn't surprise me to find out that, hey, maybe I, wasn't undervaluing or overvaluing, but I could be providing more options, which again goes back to part of the reason you're doing this is to get that customer insight, figure out what your market actually wants. And sometimes I know with competition, it gets a little harder sometimes. Any advice out there for someone that feels like, the problem or why I have this, I'm against sales or whatever, is I got the guy in my market that's just pricing it way too low and I just can't get there. Is there anything you can do from an offer or a deal sort of perspective where you don't have to feel like you're getting down in the mud and really undercutting yourself, but perhaps spark a bit of that curiosity, use your reputation to your advantage, or use something that you have going to maybe explain to your market why the cheapest guy might not always be the best?
Yeah, and so speaking to that point, education, I think, is always key. And so education is policy. If you educate your customer enough, understand like the choices that they have to make or could make and how that could impact them down the road, whether they choose the low cost one, perhaps that you kind of get what you pay for. I think everyone kind of knows that. well, what does that really mean? If you choose someone that's going to do, carpet cleaning or hardwood cleaning, that's really cheap, but I've heard horror stories where it just completely ruined their hardwood or ruined their carpet. I mean, do you want to take that risk? I mean, so educating them on that front, right? Just your brand, what do you stand for, how long you've been in business, educating on that front. But also price can really tell you about, the quality of service that you offer and the customers that you attract. So I think you're always going to find, not always, but in typical most industries, you're going to have kind of the low, the middle, and the high end customers, right? And it's just, who do you want to attract, who you want to service, and does it make sense for you to go down to the low and get it? Or do you want to stay in that middle or upper tier? Or if they're down there low, does it take some educating on your part to get them to come up and pay for a service that's worth it? Again, it goes back to that. Let's educate them. There's a disconnect. Why are they willing to risk something, right? Unknown, foreseeable pain or impact that could happen if they, pay less or choose an more economical option versus choosing you. And what's that difference, right? How are you different? What are you doing a little bit different? Quality service? Is it your method? Is it your process? Your chemicals? Is it your tools? Your trade? I mean, there's got to be some expertise that you're bringing to that table. And I think just educating that, taking a little bit of time on telling the customer what that is, I think you'll actually really understand the customer. Like, you know what, I've never actually thought about that. You're right. Thank you. They're actually appreciate that for one. And they're like, more times than not, when you're consultative like that, they admire and respect you. And they'll be more surprised. They'll probably choose you to, do that service or whatever it is that you're bidding on.
And if they don't choose you first because you've educated them, and then now that discount, that bargain basement service can't live up to the expectations, I guarantee they're going to be calling you to come fix that mistake. And you kind of talked about it as well. Sometimes perhaps don't worry about buckshotting your whole town. Find the neighborhoods, tends to be, certain neighborhoods, the affluency of a customer or something like that, it's going to kind of be networked. So if you're able to get one job in a neighborhood, perhaps, or one job in a sector of a city or a sector of a town, perhaps just getting that small little view around and really being able to focus in on that area is going to be better than trying to be the guy for everybody, where you're going into perhaps different parts of the city or town that just aren't going to value your services as much. If you feel like that you're on that higher ticket side. So again, I guess that it all goes back to data, right, Scott?
Yeah, well, yeah, it reminds me of that story, Sean, of like the strip mall, and there's this haircutter place, and it's like $10 haircut, and then like literally five doors down, their advertisement is, "I fixed the $10 haircut," right? So it's that whole premise of your price, who you attract, and then the service that you're going to get at the end of the result, and then that impact that could happen. So.
Well, Scott, I appreciate kind of the conversation here today. And I know in your role as a chief marketing officer that we brought you in to kind of be an expert on the marketing side of it and things like that. I know you lived up to that billing. But here in season 2, I've been asking all of our experts the same question to try to get their answer, their sort of take on it, because we like to, and people that listen to every episode know what I'm about to say here, but we like to kind of make sure that people out there understand that even though you may have an expertise in some field, there's always something you're working on next. So that's my question to you, Scott. What is something you don't know now that you're either eager to find the answer to or currently working on finding the answer to? And it doesn't have to be business related. I would love it if it is, but there's just something that's taking up your brain power right now. I'd love to know what that is. So what don't you know now that you're working on finding the answer to?
So for me right now, route optimization, I think it's fascinating. I think being able to plug and play, whether it's packages, text, zip codes, location, job type, being able to optimize the route. We were actually talking a little bit about that earlier today. I think that is so fascinating to me. I'm just consumed by it. I want to know exactly how can we get extremely efficient. And I know UPS does it very well where they have the software. It's like only right turns or, something like they are dialed in by like the second or minute of when that package is going to be delivered. But how can that be related to the service business industry and related to your package and then related to perhaps a specific tech, right? How can we track that, measure it, and then help the business owners make really good choices and decisions on when they are creating that work order and assigning that job out, or even just scheduling, right? Scheduling the customer, looking at their calendar real quickly. It's this. I've got this job. I've got this. Okay, perfect. I'm going to put you Wednesday at 3. Like, why? I just, that is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's and that's going to be a rabbit hole, my friend. I'll tell you that right now. When you get into optimization, you get further and further, because you start to optimize some things, then there's never a stopping point where you're like, well, could we optimize a little more? Could we make it just a little bit better? Make it a little bit better. So I love that's your mentality. I wish you the best of luck on that quest. I'm often on that quest myself. So I'm sure I'll see you through some of those data circles as well. But Scott, thanks again so much for joining us here on the podcast and bringing your insight to our community.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Sean.
And I appreciate
Love the beer.
Awesome. Glad you're here as well. And for all you out there that tuned in, whether it's the audio version on YouTube, wherever you're catching this podcast, we absolutely thank you. We'd love for you to like, comment, share, review, do all those great things. But at the very least, if you listen to our conversation today and take one element from it, put it into your world, see what data comes out. Perhaps it's the best thing for you. Perhaps it's something where now you know a good piece of information to make adjustments in the future. That's all we're actually asking for you. So if you can do the other things, great. But as long as you've given us your attention, I am absolutely thankful for that each and every day. Season 2 rolls on. Only a couple more episodes left. You could count them on one hand. They'll be at the end of season 2, but season 3 won't be too much further behind. We're looking forward to that. Looking forward to the next episode as well. Until then, we hope you're being healthy. We hope you're being safe. And don't forget to have a little fun out there as well. Take care, everybody.